Cheers.
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 Let's get this started. Let's get the show on the road. We are back at Hawaii Real, and I have with me John Garcia.
Hey guys.
John K. Aloha Garcia.
John K. Aloha Garcia. Playing with the idea of changing my first name to John K. Aloha instead of just John.
Why not go with Ioane K. Aloha?
Ioane. Yeah.
And I have Kanoho Koko back on the show.
Aloha. Aloha to everybody.
And this is a different setup. We're going to get together and we're meeting up and we're talking about, hey, the future of not just the podcast, but what's going to go forward with a whole slew of things, and also like frame of mind and just talk about stuff.
I like it.
Whatever tequila brings.
You know, I have to say for the second time on your podcast that I'm inspired with your forward-thinking ability to just do something. So I appreciate that. Because the shot's not perfect.
The shot is not perfect.
It's not perfect.
The camera's literally in the hallway.
It is, yeah. And so this is our first time. This is my kitchen. We're figuring out how to utilize this space for this kind of conversation.
Right.
And so we have 3 people and 1 camera.
Right. So three cameras. No, three mics, 1 camera. First time I'm doing it on the show.
Yeah.
So, and I'm all about moving forward and changing and adapting. You know, figure out what works. Come to a roadblock. Find something else. Turn left. Go around it. Go above it. Hurdle. Dig under it. Freaking something.
I mean, we spent 2 hours trying to figure out this third microphone.
It's like an hour.
Okay, an hour.
Welcome to the show.
I was going to say something about
Okay, boy.
So, Kanoho and I have both shared the airwaves on this show before.
You've both been guests
Well,
on
we've both
Hawaii
been
Real.
guests.
Yes, and I wanted to bring you back on the show and just talk about, I don't know, a whole slew of things. You know, I was inspired by John coming on the show and telling me that, you know, I needed to change, I needed to adapt, and really look towards monetizing it. In order to monetize a show like that, especially at the location that I was at, required change. And sometimes change is like super hard. And you're always fearful of the failure, and you're fearful of, you know, working hard to make something else that you have no idea if it's going to succeed or not. Thoughts on that? Because I brought Kanoho in. I actually was talking to Kanoho to come back on the show as his second time, because he had a fantastic show with Fresh Island Poke. Fresh Island Fish.
Yeah, so I really came back to reclaim my title for the most viewership. But you know, that might have to be on a third show if I'm invited back.
Is there like a page view I should be looking at for my episode or something? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, he was shooting for the most views of all of my episodes, which he had for a good while, and then he Miss Aloha Hula just surpassed that and continues.
I'm coming for Miss Aloha Hula.
And see, that's one of my things. Like, I'm looking at my episodes, I'm like, oh, why is that one episode getting so many views? She's gotten over 3,000 views on hers, and several other episodes struggle to hit that 100 view mark. And I don't know.
Hula. It must be hula.
I've had other hula people on though. So
in regards to that, I think Io's going to break out here in a quick segment to reenact some of our high school song contest.
I was terrible at high school song contest.
Week performances. So.
You're the musical genius here.
But no, it's great to be back on here. You know, I seen John's segment and I reached out to you immediately, and it's like, dude, we need to just kind of connect these dots here. And so I'm glad that we're here right now. You know, but it's that proof that we need, where, like, you know, the idea gets thrown up and then it's up to like somebody to pull it back down and make it real. So I appreciate your efforts in that. Like what John was saying, you know, your dedication, your passion to it, like actually making it happen.
Right.
It's like, I think it's like, you know, one of the biggest things is just like making a start, like just hitting that go button. You know, regardless of, like, you know, like you mentioned, you know, thoughts of success and whatnot. It's good to kind of have, like, you know, an idea of how successful something should be, but at the same time, I think if you've never done it before, you really have no idea of how successful it could be. So it shouldn't be even a thought. You just gotta try. You know, because I think once you start thinking about like where you want to go with it, you almost limit yourself. Really, you kind of build these boundaries for yourself mentally, like where you want to get to. But you know, what if you never had those? Then you might actually automatically get past that without even thinking about it. And I think that's where we are right now.
Yeah.
With, like, you know, what we had tried before, just watching the channel grow itself, even from the look and from the sound, and now with the new format, this is all growth right here, and it all started from that your decision to like, I'm going to do it.
I'm going to start.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start.
Here's a good example. I've had podcasting equipment sitting on the table there for like 3 weeks. And so it's been set up, and I've actually had people speak through it, but I never set it up to my computer and hit record. Those are all great podcasts, probably 50 of them in the last 3 weeks. Didn't record any of them yet, you know? Here we are. This is the first one. So
What?
thank you, you.
Popping your cherry here?
There we go.
All right.
Yeah, it is. And so, but this is good too, like, you know, as we start to create a space for more of this kind of activity, there's a couple of different areas within this hallway that we can use. I think the kitchen is very conducive to conversation. I think once we lock in the visuals, I have a camera too. And so, you know, another solution would be, and then, or 1 and then 2 this way or something. And so the next one will just be amazingly better visually.
Yeah, that's the progression of the episodes that I've had. You know, if anybody goes back and looks through some of my original episodes, episode 1, 2, and 3, I had completely different camera setups. I had completely different lighting setups, and through progression and through just looking at it and changing things, that's when I really kind of started to nail down my camera angles and then lighting, and had to actually go out and purchase more lighting. And then I actually had photographers on the show. I brought in experts and actually had them look at my lighting and adjust it, because I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So, hey, bring in the guys that know what they're doing and take a look and say, hey, what can I do to fix this? So if I'm able to do that with lighting, what else am I able to do that with regards to the podcast and building the podcast into a business?
Sure. Yeah, understanding your space, I think, has a lot to do with that. You know, so I appreciate you putting the work in here to figure it out. I have a question. Why isn't there a master on you? Or why isn't there like a close-up on you?
This is the master. All you gotta do is lean in.
Yeah. No, I like it. There's always be a master. I think a close-up would be a nice addition right here.
We would have a camera. Actually, I would have a 3-camera setup.
Yep. Yep. There's really no way to get around it. I think you can do a wide and a close-up. Because I'm trying to figure out this equation too. Like, how much production do we really put into these things? You know, I think if you want to create something with enough volume, you know, on a consistent level, it's important to find out the sweet spot, you know, as far as production goes.
Right, and once you find that sweet spot, it's easier to mimic that.
Yeah, once you kind of, you know, create a template for yourself on what it looks like, then it can be reproduced easily. And like, you know, honestly, like a second camera is pretty much like, you know, a rule in the industry where it's like a lifeline. So while you're editing, if something happens tragically, whatever, you know, throws continuity off, you got that second feed to kind of cut away to. But we have, if you want, we can set up one of these phones right now and just record.
Yeah, we have audio and we have a video feedback backup. No.
That's the other thing with like making this podcast. And one of the things that you said, Kanoa, you said to me during that phone call the other day was, how can Hawaii Real make this real for me?
Right. It was
and
an
that was
idea.
it was an idea, but you can turn that into a brand, or we could turn that into a brand. How does Hawaii Real, and we have that name, just filed for LLC, so yay.
Hey, I'm about to toast you.
Yeah. So
how do we make that real? How do we make other people's dreams real?
were you able to share those thoughts with John?
No.
Okay.
First time.
I think I get where you guys are going. Love to hear it.
Yeah, no, I guarantee you probably already have this written down somewhere in some notebook. But yeah, it was along those lines, you know, coming off the EOS show on, we talked about monetization, and it's not for like, you know, making his retirement happen, but just to kind of keep this going, because I think it's a format that is needed right now. You know, a lot of people won't recognize it immediately, but yeah, there's a lot of good information that can be shared. So with that being said, having a format with what I had in mind, like in the sense of, I just coined the phrase Hawaii Real, made this real for me. With collective minds, with the collective energy, with the collective entrepreneurial spirit, can we bring on somebody who is, you know, on the startup level? And it's something that, you know, we've either done ourselves or done for other people. But bring somebody on that, you know, is either close to production of a product or has this brand that EO can really stand behind. Bring them on board. We put the brain power and the efforts and use our resources to a certain extent to actually make their idea come to life, making it real, bring this dream to reality. And then this could provide a separate format, but also the same, where we now have content to speak on. How did this person who lost their job in travel industry, with the recipe that their grandmother had for like years, loved it, and decided to put it in a bottle and sell it. So like, they talk about necessity being the mother of all invention. And right now, I'm sure there's a lot of people that are looking for a separate or even maybe a primary income stream. And what if we could, in fact, what if we could be that change?
Sure.
And I think collectively, there's a lot of things that these small businesses are missing to kind of break through that barrier that might be against. So it doesn't have to be like a company or an idea that's not in existence. What if somebody just needed a leg up? And if we could even just start the conversation on how they could achieve that, and how iReal could be a platform where that could continue, that could monetize it in such a positive way.
Sure.
And when you get into the investment side and like, the royalties and the rights and that kind of thing, that'll work itself out. But if we had it down to where they totally agree to what we want to try and do for them, I'm hoping that it would be a no-brainer that this would be a place where they could safely share their ideas, and we could forward that conversation, because there's a lot of ways to make things happen that take very little money to actually make it happen.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a connection. Sometimes it's just a tweak in the product itself. Who knows what the case might be. And we're not sure where their level of success in their own mind for like their brand or product would be. But I think it's important to even show them that it's possible.
Right.
And so I think if iReal could just make that possibility tangible, who knows what could happen. So I'm for that. Even just talking about how we would shape that out, or even it'd be something that you would entertain, but yeah, it's nice if anyone just chimed into any one of EO's podcasts. The people that decided to come on and speak, they're entirely open about their ideas, John yourself included, and for me, I'm a huge fan of open source. That's really the only way I operate. It's been my blessing and my curse, but I don't have any regrets. If I think my 2 cents is worth anything, I'll throw it in the hat. You can give it back willingly, or sometimes I gotta try and take it back from you. But regardless, I would want to see what happens if we had a platform that could just, put some proven methods into someone else's dream.
Sure. It's like a podcast accelerator or podcast incubator or something.
Yeah. And not just a podcast.
And because
content creation,
right, and because we can't readily grasp at what it is, that means we're starting something new. So we have the rights to call it whatever we want.
Sure.
So like you said, incubator.
Yeah.
Startup, whatever it is, there really isn't a term for it yet. Maybe somebody else is doing it, but who knows? But for as much as we know right now in our knowledge of existence, like, it hasn't done. So we stand to be the first.
I mean, case in point, before I started the podcast, I did research on exactly the type of platforms that you were talking about to help me go out there and produce a podcast easily with, maybe some rental equipment or somebody else's studio or something like that. And I could not find anything like that. And therefore I had to create it myself. And I've seen that with other podcasters that are creating their own stuff. And I've had some on my show where they're doing it all from scratch, and they're starting from scratch, and they're having to learn the whole process from the ground up. And if there was a process or a company out there that provided those insightful tools for anybody that wanted to create content, it would be so much easier. And when it's easier, the more people start to do it.
Right, definitely. I think that Hawaii's getting to a place where creatives are starting to share and open up more, right? And I think so. It takes leadership like this, EO, to open up that process and to make these kinds of platforms accessible, right? One, instilling confidence in people who want the knowledge, and then two, I think being innovative with the way you're serving it to them, right? Like for example, the idea of this podcasting incubator. So it could be maybe a month that maybe we take a business and feature them, talk about their goals and their mission, and then each week check in on a different segment of their business as it gets improved, as it gets, incubated.
Right.
Pretty interesting. And so there's different.
And that's another point that you just brought up here is one of the things that you need in order to progress a business or a goal is to have or to be held accountable for it. And I think having a company that actually, if you sign on with us, we're going to hold you accountable. We're going to be calling you weekly, and we're going to demand that you follow through with your dreams and follow through with your goals and set those goals to begin with and follow through with that. And hey, come on, create your stuff. Take your time out, sacrifice your time, come and create. This was your dream. Come and make it real. We're sacrificing our time, our equipment for you. Come and do it.
That's different. It's not just storytelling, right?
No.
It's application.
Yeah.
That's powerful. It's innovative.
Yeah, and I think looking at my own personal stats, I have a handful of friends that had the lifestyle. They were in the industry. The industry, whatever it is, has been stripped away due to COVID. And so now they realize that the lifestyle they had secured for themselves is no longer achievable here. So a handful of my really good friends have decided to leave the state and take what savings they have, sell the house that they've only been paying like 2, 3, maybe 5 years on, get to a place that's less expensive to live, just to kind of recoup. And it's a hard thing for me to accept. And it's kind of a bold thing to say, but no, it's very difficult for me to accept that because this is our home, and COVID is going to force those who really wanted to see this as their lifetime end game. It's no longer possible. So I mean, yeah, you get this. I really speak on kind of like what our generation is. We went to school, got the good job, got paid, found the house that we thought we was gonna retire in, and then that income stream is entirely gone. And these guys are they were probably close to we're making 6 figures, and that seems like it was gonna be enough. But when that's entirely gone and not having a contingency plan, they're forced to do what they're doing now, and I hate to see that. So the cause kind of goes way beyond just trying to get someone else launched. What if, who knows how many lives would change just by giving them hope that they can stay. Yeah, so just leaving and trying to find out what else is out there. And it was a good experience because like I was saying, I think I wanted to leave in hopes of realizing what I was leaving behind, and it happened for me. And quite honestly, Colorado was the furthest that I would move. Just given the weather and the people and what I've heard, but it became the perfect place for me. Enjoying the season, seeing something that we would never experience here in Hawaii. I loved every time it snowed in. I know a lot of the residents that were there, born and raised, they actually loathed it when they got to shovel it. But it was novel to me for 10 years. I didn't care.
This is fun.
I was I didn't mind. I would shovel my neighbor's driveway.
Shave Ice jokes every year.
Yeah, I seen this on TV. I'm doing it every year. But yeah, with that being said, I think it's necessary if you want to get out there, see what's truly out there for yourself. Take a dip, see if you like it. But for me, it really shaped my attitude of what home meant to me, and it's here. So I brought everything I learned in that experience back home. So that's really transcended to everything I've done, to where kind of there's a lot at risk if you don't work hard. Well, no, I take it back. If you don't work smart, and you're passionate about staying here, living in Hawaii, it takes a different dedication. They say it's a price of paradise, but they're not really talking about money. They're really talking about sacrifice. And so it takes a lot, even for us as we sit here right now. Yeah, of course, monetarily, single 2-bedroom house. What is our single family home cost now? 800.
I think it's $917. I saw something. The median is over 900 now.
Yeah. So anybody on the mainland tuning in, just realize that we're at $900,000 for a single family home. Okay, so that's what that means our gallon of milk is like $10 a gallon.
Yeah.
Just to give
and
you
you'll have real estate
perspective.
guys saying, well, that's just the median. That means half is below that. It's like, okay, but you're looking at median income too.
Yes.
Like it doesn't line up.
So really, when I hear that, see, a lot of people talk about, okay, real estate, this and that and other. But really what I hear is that we actually have a stake in the commodity, kind of like we're sitting like on a gold mine. And us as natives, or like those that really want to stay, are giving it up on the daily. We are leaving our stake of this true gold mine, and we're leaving it for someone else to take. And I'm tired.
I think it's even more important to have platforms like Hawaii Real, right? To connect people who really care about Hawaii and its culture, especially in these times, you know?
Absolutely.
Because, you know, aloha is our currency here. And so,
yeah. And aloha is the language we speak. And so if we can keep more of those people that truly understand how to speak it here, we stand a better chance for our generations to come. You know, so I'm thinking about myself, my family, you know, what it looks like for them. And to think that they would have to consider leaving here is heartbreaking. So how do I stop it? How do we prevent that?
Right.
We're gonna help the Native Hawaiian population become more successful in the term. And you know, people have different definitions of success, left and right. It doesn't matter. But the bottom line here is, if you want to live in Hawaii, you have to have money. You just do, you know. And you may last for this generation, but are your kids going to be able to afford to live here? You know, we're looking for that generational foundation where your children can grow up, get jobs here, or produce content or produce businesses here and remain here in Hawaii. You know, if you can't do that, then we're failing. You know, we're failing as a Hawaiian people.
Right.
Yeah, my kids are in Punahou. I shovel a lot of money to tuition on that. I'm not wealthy or anything like that. But I still can't imagine that they will easily be able to survive here in Hawaii afterwards, after they graduate and get jobs and stuff. I would love for them to live here, but you know, the reality of it is it's going to be hard without the sacrifices that you talked about. You know, they're going to have to sacrifice.
You know what I think improves those odds? I think if we can reconnect to our identity.
Yes.
100%. 100%.
Because it comes down to kind of value for staying here. I had a little stint where I like exiled Hawaii too. 2017, I went to New York, as far as I could go. And I don't miss the snow. And it also did define who I am, and it made me more aware of my culture and what makes Hawaii so special. And actually, you know, working with the people I worked with in New York, they taught me about ohana. They taught me about culture in that way, and what it meant to really connect to people and utilize their assets and their space to create memories, to create meaningful experiences. And so bringing that back, I seek that daily, you know, to get people together. We can learn something. People like EO who are press and record, you know, and create value for people. So stoked.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, going back on that, the term you use, you know, aloha is our currency. That's true. So then how can we produce more of it? If we're printing dollar bills, how can we produce more aloha as a currency? And, you know, truly, when we think about it, our native Hawaiian population, yes, we need to give them a leg up, true. But there are some natives that are longing to leave this place, and there's some others that want to come here and take care of this place. And both sides need to be respected. So like if we're thinking about aloha as a currency, that really means the same for anyone, no matter what walk of life you're coming from. If you're gonna live and practice that and breathe it, then yeah, come on down, you know, put a stake into the claim and see what happens, because that's gonna make the difference, I think. You know, the like-minded individuals that are willing to kind of really protect what we have right now. And every day we hear a story of big money coming in and stripping something from us. Well, what is us really? What does us really look like? Right? if we can draw cleaner lines in the sand, I think it would really give us a chance to kind of put true effort in creating a culture that is going to be successful in the means of like truly having a life here and not just paycheck to paycheck. It does take money, you know, to live here. But at the same time too, I think if we give everyone the chance to understand like what success means for themselves, as opposed to just kind of, I'll say now, kind of adhering to the machine, and really know that they can stand on their two own, could make a huge difference. There's so much talent that's constantly leaving the state, and it is truly heartbreaking to see this talent leave and, you know, a fortune get made for someone else or somewhere else. How can we keep it here?
Or how can we bring it back?
Sure.
You know, I'm all for people leaving, learning, and coming back. You know, let's get the people to come back, because I did that. I was one of those that moved away. You moved away. You moved away. I moved away. And I think it's interesting that we have, you know, 3 Native Hawaiians here, 3 very different backgrounds, 3 very different lifestyles, 3 different avenues of success that we've gone through our entire lives, and yet here we are at the same table, speaking of the same kind of things. You know, we've all come full circle with these different paths. It's really interesting.
Yeah. Well, to me, this is the only way. Right? I think I spent a lot of my 22-year career doing things alone by myself to protect it and to etch my own line in the sand. And so as I started to continue doing that, I realized, well, the more people I have working with me, the further I'll go. You know, you want to go fast, go low. You want to go far, go together. So I still try and give as much as I can. Kanoho, you talked about creative capital. These are like, I think in the last 2 months, I probably maybe like $50,000-$60,000 worth of services. So just building things for people and like having, you know, creating value, creating some surface area for us to make things.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, that word service, that's where the Hawaii population can truly capitalize on. You know, they said that we're running out of resources, and honestly, like, you know, being in the seafood industry, I can see that firsthand, where seafood is becoming Hawaii's really only it's our last bastion for a natural resource, but it's not looked at such because it's not being grown. It needs to be caught. You know, we've had sugar, we've had pineapples, and we've had all these successful things, but currently, what do we have to offer? And this is kind of where this is where COVID really kicked my thought process into high gear, where we're going to lose the money that's coming from our tourist industry regardless, but there's no conversation of what's going to happen, what's going to replace it. There might be a murmur here or there, or a whisper, like, you know, what we're going to do, but if there's not a concentrated effort or dedicated conversation on how we're going to replace that, we're doomed. Sounds extreme, but you know, the proof is there. So what's our last resource? It's service. If we as an entity, as like the Aloha Nation, where Aloha is pretty much service, what does that service look like as a product that can be monetized? You know, where does it lay in? It's a stretch to say, but the Aloha spirit is inherent in us, and it's all about service. You know, so like, how can we take that? How can we translate that into a product? And if there's a product that's to be made, how can we make sure that Aloha is ingrained in it, where it's not blatantly telling you made with Aloha? When it's doing that, I think, you know, it's two different things. But when you receive it, when you get it and you understand it, that's an intrinsic value that can't be duplicated, and that's truly printing Aloha currency. So tough thing to achieve, but if the conversation doesn't happen, and if we're starting it right now, then I like to see what's going to come from it.
Sure, quantifying Aloha. I know that there are measurements of this. When we talk about like antipilahi and like really defining Aloha in its meaning. I'm crossing some bridges on how to quantify using Aloha as a currency through one of my startups, Exchange Avenue. And so as a barter and trade network, we're sharing abundance. So it's like the stuff I have a lot of, and the stuff maybe you have a lot of, and then we can like all get together and share it. And so Aloha happens in there. I'm still trying to figure out how to quantify that. what we can do is we can take a look at data and say, okay, how many things has this entity exchanged? How many things have they given? How many things have they received? Versus all of the things that have been exchanged on the network. So you can find an average of your impact to that overall goal. But I think what you're talking about is different. It's almost like creating an Aloha engine where you can put ideas into it and then just format into something that has like a foundation that's steeped in cultural value.
Wait, go ahead.
Sorry, I think it's beautiful that you're bringing in tangible items to trade and barter with, and he's bringing in ideas and intangible items to trade and barter with.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's the same concept, different ideas, different
knowledge exchange,
different platforms, but yeah, it comes together.
So then let's start it right here, and then I probably have to jump on to trademark this next immediately.
There you go.
So with the Exchange Avenue, it's a brilliant thing, and if you guys haven't heard of it, it does exactly what it needs to do. It takes excess and it blesses somebody else with that excess.
Mm-hmm.
So if we take what we're talking about now and put it in a format, we're right there. So if we created something and nobody take this. So what if we created Aloha Avenue, where it's not tangible products, but it's skill sets, resources, ideas, the ability to, what if I have 1,000 extra black t-shirts that was for another client that they no longer need? Can I print it for somebody else that needs brand recognition? What does that trade and barter look like, and how much would that be worth? And it's already in the wheelhouse. They've already been paid for. What could that mean to somebody else? Aloha Avenue. Don't think that.
It's like the excess. The excess that I have.
Aloha Avenue on Hawaii Real makes it real.
It's like the excess that I have. I have all this equipment for a podcast. Yes, I'm using it one time a week, maybe 2 times a week. There are 7 days a week. Like there's all these hours in a day. I don't need to be using it all that time. I can't talk all that time. So that's another thing where like this is excess equipment that I have that not necessarily am I going to give it away, but hey, come and use it when I'm not using it.
And that's it. So we got the 3 parts of it: equipment that can be used, resources that can be repurposed, and then skill sets that can be taught. Now we're truly getting to this part where service is our commodity. What would that look like 5 years from now? For me, it's got to start somewhere, and I think there's a lot of people with the same sentiment. Yeah, that's the Aloha spirit. You see somebody mowing their lawn, and they're struggling with it. Our inkling is to jump in and help out. Our inherent Aloha spirit is always there to help out. So what if we truly helped out, like gave somebody a real leg up on something? Aloha Avenue, folks. Aloha Avenue.
I love it.
Don't you love this guy?
Yeah, idea machine.
It's good stuff.
Yeah, no, that's the right train of thought.
And I'm on board.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm really excited. I never imagined how a podcast could evolve into a platform for incubating ideas, and I think it just happened. Love the parallel with the idea of Hawaii Real, making it real, and I'm excited to see what it turns into, how it evolves.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people saying, "Oh, that's crazy! Like, why would I want to forfeit my ideas?" We're not asking you to forfeit your ideas.
No.
We're just asking you if you need help.
Yeah.
In growing your idea into something else.
Actually, when you think about it, you already have the distribution vehicle to disseminate information. And so you could technically just bring on different experts to speak specifically about ideas. Or it could be a themed show that runs for maybe a series, 4, 5, 6 episodes, and it just works on the same company, the same idea. It grows it and it follows that journey. Ideas.
All about teaching them how to fish, right?
So. Yeah. There's definitely a strategic way to do that.
Yeah, so a lot of it can be put down in black and white as far as like what contractually we are looking to do, accomplish, and what they're responsible for. And the easiest way to go about it, I think, is just going to give like a time frame. We promise you're going to be in this place in your business venture by this time. and it's something that's quantifiable. You know, getting like the licensing, the rights, trademarks, all those kind of things. There's a definite time frame that can be worked and achieved. And their goal is to just drive it. You know, we'll build a car. You just got to drive it.
Sure.
Build a car, give you the gas, get in the seat.
I kind of see it as a couple of different parts. You've got sort of the morsel of the idea, right? Then you have like building it, the resources that it takes to build the idea. And then once it's built, how to support it, and then how it evolves.
Yeah. And to me, there's so many things that we can actually pull away from it, you know, that would benefit the podcast, ourselves even. But at the end of it, I want to see if we can create a template of what it would look like to live here successfully. And I don't know, paycheck to paycheck is just kind of such a cliche thing to say these days, but it's like a reality for a lot of us here. How do we escape that? Is it even worth it to escape? You know, like, is it okay for us to be okay with living paycheck to paycheck? You know?
Yeah, and that's always a hard thing. And I see that on day to day. Is like people live paycheck to paycheck, and they live safely. They live slightly comfortably, but not really comfortably. But they're okay, and they're pushing for that retirement, where they're just going to be. They're going to get that steady retirement check, their pension and everything. They're going to live their life within those boundaries.
Playing not to lose.
Right, playing not to lose. It's like, I wasn't put here on this earth for that.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Yeah, and so for me, I think a big part of my career has been understanding my aspirations. You know, like beyond goals, I think how I define goals versus aspirations are more of like the inklings, that the things that you want for yourself, not necessarily quantified by society or what someone else says is successful. And so understanding my aspirations helped me to build ideas that were rooted in things that I actually enjoyed, not for someone else, or not to try and make money to quantify success in some kind of society. So I think that's a big part of it, is understanding the aspirations of who's building the idea, so that what we build is aligned. So process stuff.
Yeah, that coincides with like my thoughts on, like, you know, where passion is. Somebody can be extremely passionate about anything, but without the action, then it's just a dream.
Right.
You know, it's like your aspirations is kind of taking that, you know, starting to like root down what it means. It really defines yourself, what you want to be known for, who people will see you as. And at the end of the day, like, you know, clock out and say, I'm happy with this. And then it's true, because of your aspirations and passions, like they really dictate the goals that you want to achieve. You know, so it's like the plant you put down and then the fruit you harvest after. That's kind of what the goals are. You know, but yet defining that, like having a clear and as clear of an image of what you want to be is crucial. So like, even for us to, like, if we take on a prospect and, you know, they want us to brand them, which is often the case, we ask for a very specific mission statement. What is it that you want to be known for? And most oftentimes, 99% of the time, they never really ask themselves that. They just have a product to kind of see where it can go. But without that story, that passion, that rooting system, it's easy to just be swept away. But with aspirations as firm as like a foundation, as like a pillar, and like what you want to do and become, then it's indelible. Like anything you build on top of that as a foundation is like hard to knock down. You know, so your own definition of success is determined, like, oh, I want to make it rich, I want to sell 1 million units or whatever, or I just want to put food on the table. And those are all goals that need to be respected. But at the end of the day, it's all based on like your true aspirations and your own passions.
Right. I've dealt with a lot of clients who don't know what their passions are too. Right. And so the way I handle that is to look at their strengths. Right? Like, okay, you don't really know what you love. You don't have enough experiences in that space to have that self-awareness yet. And so let's take a look at what you're good at.
Right.
Take a look at what you're good at, and then see if we can help you to define why you love the things you love.
And
so we create from there.
And some people don't have their passion yet because they haven't tried a whole lot of things. A lot of different things. And it's like, no, you have to try all these different foods to find out what food is your favorite food.
Yeah.
And what food you want to cook. all the time.
Chef Kale had made this a few times.
Yeah, I love analogies.
Yeah.
How do you know
Flavor.
what's your favorite food unless you've tried a wide variety of foods? If you've only tried, a certain, number of things, you don't know what your passion is.
Right.
And so that's one of the things, I kind of want to try to help people find is, what is your passion? If you don't know your passion, hey, maybe we can help you find that by giving you a different avenue of trying different things.
Yeah.
To get you there.
You know, that's an interesting point, because I think I wanted to kind of segue into that conversation where, how different is aspirations versus passion. And I think passion can be changed with growth. Things change because like tofu, for instance, but you put like spicy ahi furikake on it, it becomes like your favorite thing, right?
Yeah.
So you're passionate about not liking tofu, but when you change it, add something else to it, well, then it becomes a different thing. But aspirations is like almost, your aspirations got to be almost unchangeable. They have to be kind of like a belief system where you kind of fight tooth and nail for. So it's two different things, because you have your aspirations, then it's fueled by your passion, and then that's how you kind of, that's how in my mind I move forward,
right,
with like an idea.
Because like your aspiration is to eat,
right? I got to.
Yeah,
you got to
Right?
eat.
I'm not gonna eat tofu unless I'm passionate about not eating tofu.
But then your passion is, what kind of tofu?
Yeah.
What kind of food are you gonna eat?
Right.
Yeah.
Your real goal is just to experience amazing flavors.
No,
Yes.
that's it.
That's it.
That's it. Or not experience crappy flavors.
There you go.
That's my overview.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I've had bad experiences with it. I probably don't want to repeat that again.
Yeah.
But then somebody comes and put this on it, and it's like, oh, I'll try it.
Which I think brings us to taste.
Right.
Right. The concept and the idea of taste.
Right.
Which I think, like, for me as a designer, we call it aesthetic. People hire me for my aesthetic. But taste really defines like your unique expression of something, right? And so there's a million ways to make tofu, but taste is what makes it uniquely yours, or even innovative, I think.
100%. And that's why, if we circle back to like where this podcast could go, your taste is defined by your experiences. So people come to you for what you've added onto your own passion, and create that own flavor of things, right? Now we're getting to all these, taste and flavor of it.
Yeah.
But it's exactly that. If we can like simplify the conversation where anybody is listening in right now, they understand that. What's our taste? What's my flavor? What do I like? What do I dislike?
Yeah.
And then you can really carve out your lane, and people will come to you for that thing.
Yeah, and I think for like my podcast, like one of the main themes and the taste and the flavors that I had was I wanted to make it look good and sound good, and that was two of my main goals, and the content would follow from that. But to establish those two foundations where people listening had, it was pleasurable to listen to, and people watching, it was pleasurable to watch, and then the content would follow. So, those are the two main things that I had. I think I can, other people have content to share. Let's open up an Aloha Avenue and share the technology and the knowledge and the experience that I've gone through over the past year and a half with doing this podcast.
Are you building businesses, or are you building other thought leadership platforms?
Oh, God, both. Why not? I definitely don't want to pigeonhole myself anymore. And I think I've done that enough throughout my life, pigeonholing myself into I am this, I am that, I am, doing this job or that job now. To where it's like, hey, you know what? I'm free game and open for whatever comes next, as long as it's leading to my end goal of being success. What does that mean? Oh, I have a wide variety of definitions for that too.
Options.
But I think at the end of the day, if I can help other people be happier in their life, that's one of my big goals. And I saw that with my roller hockey product. I found that I was getting old and had hip problems, knee problems, a lot of pain when I was playing hockey. So I built this roller fly device that goalies could strap on to their leg pads to slide, and it ended up really helping not only myself with my hips and my knees as you get older and you still want to play hockey, but it helped hundreds of goalies around the world find that same comfort and same it just continued the same passion that I had to play the game further into adulthood. And that was huge that like brought tears to my eyes. I'm allowing these guys, and these guys are texting me and emailing me and hitting me up on Facebook saying, thank you so much for making this product. And that kind of thing inspires me beyond anything else I could really imagine. You know, helping other people find success or continue on with their passion, I think was one of the pinnacles in my life, finding that and seeing that I created something that helped somebody else so much with their passion. And I kind of want to recreate that with a content creation multimedia platform.
Self-actualization. I think that's a sign of a good leader. You know, once they self-actualize, sort of you elevate yourself to a place where you're helping others to self-actualize. It's powerful.
And it doesn't come along very often.
No.
It's like you helped so many people. And I think that's one of my lots in life. And the goal of me being on this planet is to help other people fulfill their goals and their dreams.
Nice. So what's next? I mean, obviously there's some location changes for your podcast. There might be some programming changes. What's your vision? What's your vision for the next 3 months of this platform?
I think at the very beginning, it's to offer my equipment and services and expertise and knowledge to others to come and find out how they can find their passion and maybe doing the same thing that I'm doing. Podcasting, interviewing people, talking to people, or just sharing their own personal experiences, their own personal content with the planet. You know, it's huge when you early on in this episode, you said that, you know, you had done like 50 other talks where you never pushed that record button.
Yeah.
And there are people that either they don't push that record button or they do record and they never post it out on YouTube or Instagram or anything like that. And you have to take that step. And I think I want to get to that point where I'm influencing others to take those steps. And maybe they don't realize it just yet that they have this passion. And a lot of people are afraid to public speak, you know, but when you put the headphones on, you got the mic in front of you, and you hear your own voice and you hear other people's voices coming through the same audio interface and stuff like that, something changes, and you really start to share yourself with the world, and you start to share your knowledge and your expertise and just your passion with the world. And I want to share that ability with so many more people, as many more people as I can touch.
Amazing. I want to support that.
Aloha Avenue, everybody.
Yeah.
Hawaii Real, making it real.
Yeah, and that's a great concept. It's, when you told me about that, Hawaii Real, make it real, that really hit home with me during that phone call. And that's how great ideas come to fruition, through those random phone calls, you know, with those random conversations over tequila. And sometimes it dissipates, and sometimes it's recorded and documented and
now we're held accountable.
Right. You start to become accountable for a lot of things. And so I think it's great. I think that's a great idea. And there's definitely a direction that the Hawaii Real platform should take. You know? And I'm not egotistical. I don't think, oh, I should have it this way and that way, and this is the way I want to do it. It's like, no, I'm completely open to other influencers and how to take this to help other people.
Awesome. So if you've got a great idea out there, if you've been wanting to launch an idea, or contact EO.
Totally.
Yeah.
Got a website up, hawaiirealpodcast.com. Email address, hawaiirealpodcast@gmail.com.
Easy.
Super easy.
Yeah. And you've got how many episodes now? What episode is this?
I lost count.
Over 60.
I stopped counting past 40, but I'm into the 60s.
Yep.
So
amazing.
Yeah. And it's just going to continue. And I think that's one of the hard things with people that do content creation and podcasting is just the continual week after week after week doing it and holding yourself accountable to doing it. You know, and for this longest time, for the year and a half, I've been holding myself accountable. And I haven't been accountable to anybody else. If I didn't post an episode, nobody lost. but I want to get to the point where, I'm holding myself accountable to other people, and other people are being held to account on my behalf.
That support. I think it's the definition of community too.
Right.
Yep. Amazing. It's been a pleasure talking with you guys, and hope we can do this again.
Having some tequila and some tofu with.
No, absolutely. It's been this is exactly what I've been needing. I think to have ideas bouncing around in your head, to tell them to people that's in your circle is like one thing, but to be able to share it on a different platform with other people with insight, input, it's important. And talking about community, what would it look like and feel like, sound like on a larger scale? So I'm looking forward to it. And I think we almost gotta, consider keeping this format going in some shape or form.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'd love to have the conversation too.
Right.
When should we be back? What's going to be the topic? And yeah, if anybody out there has an idea, concept that they're hung up on or have nowhere to go with it, shoots, hit up Hawaii Real.
Hit us up. It's no big thing to shoot out an email to someone.
Mm-hmm.
Cold email.
I think at the very least we'll say it's got this space weekly. We're on Tuesdays after 6. And so that could mean a bunch of things. It's pretty much an entire night of recording, and so it could be a couple of different segments. You could have hits of things. You could get pretty creative with the way you edit. It'd be pretty fun.
We're also going live.
Actually, yes. I was just going to say too that I think that just in experiencing this dynamic here, I think that the sound booth that we're setting up there is going to be perfect. I'm thinking a stand-up table. I mean, we're in close proximity of each other like this. The walls are right there. And I think it's going to be the dynamic we're looking for. I think the kitchen is good, but we'll see. We're going to switch around the environments a bit and play with the visuals.
All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Hawaii Real has been great. Once again, I have John K. Aloha Garcia and Komoho Coco. Well, thank you all for joining us in tonight. And remember, stay happy, Hawaii.